Al. And live.
Yo, what up, Knicks Nation? Welcome back to another Game of the Week preview. Game 3 preview, I should actually say, or Game 4. Whoa, what am I doing? I'm seeing the wrong things on the screen. Game 4 preview, getting ready for Knicks trying to bounce back after a beatdown against the Boston Celtics at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night. And who better to help preview this game with me is none other than my guy, John Karalis. All right, he covers the Celtics for Locked On Celtics and the Boston Sports Journal. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button for your boys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And people, update, we're not at the Ainsworth anymore. We are back at Slate for Watch Party, so don't head over to the Ainsworth. You'll be lost and confused. You won't see anybody in orange and blue over there. Maybe you will, actually, but you won't see KFTV over there. So make sure to go back to Slate, okay? Head over to Slate. We'll be doing it there tomorrow. Make sure to get over there. 5:30 start time. Be there on time so you can get your drink swag on. Get ready to cheer on the Knicks as they try to bounce back against the Boston Celtics. All right, people, make sure to stay locked in and make sure to support our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code KFTV to get up to $1,000 in instant bonus cash and a free pick. All right, let's get into this, man. John, how are you doing today? How are you feeling?
I'm great, man. How you guys doing? How you doing over there?
It could be better, man. You know, I mean, Saturday was just a reminder of what the regular season looked like, so I could be better.
This is like I wanted to get the pulse of the Knicks fan because it felt like it did feel like there was like a balloon pop after game 3. You know, everybody I was at MSG, obviously I covered the team. That place was rocking. It was as electric as I've seen a building. And then by halftime, I'm like, oh, everybody's just kind of sitting quietly. Just a couple of angry fans screaming, "Do something!" So I didn't know what the confidence level was of Knicks Nation.
You know, like we were going in there confident. You could hear that the arena was really ready to pop. And
yeah,
it was just ready. Even at the beginning of the game, Knicks were shooting poorly. They were trying to like get into the crowd, or like the crowd was trying to get into the game, I should say. But Celtics just came out, were just knocking down threes and doing what they do best. I mean, and the crazy
perfect
thing
start
is,
for them.
Yeah, it was a perfect start for them. A rough start. There was a lid on top of the hoop for the Knicks, and then defensively they just started to break down. And so, I mean, we could just jump right into it. What was some of the good, the bad, the ugly that you saw from the game from the Knicks perspective? Let's start there since this is a Knicks show.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because a lot of the talk from the Celtics side is make shots like that. You know, I pride myself on going a little bit in depth when it comes to the analysis of a basketball game. And for all 3 games, I'm just like, no, you know what? Make shots. That's what it comes down to for the Celtics. And kind of a make-miss situation for the Knicks, too. Look at that first quarter. You had, what was it, OG, who had one of the craziest toilet bowl swirl shots that I've seen. That thing was like in and out and then spun around and then in and out again. I've never seen that much spin on a ball. That was a crazy miss. Brunson had a wide open shot that was dead on and fell short.
Mm-hmm.
Cat had a reverse layup wide open and he biffed it. And so there was a lot of like, look, if the Knicks had just hit some of those shots, I think at that point it was 13-6 Boston. Like that could have been 13-13. And super early, obviously, but that was the start of a little bit of separation and frustration because the building is just, like I said, man, that was, the fuse was lit on a powder keg, and every shot there, no worse feeling for a crowd to be like, oh,
Yeah,
it was just
exactly.
like that up and down. So one of my first takeaways is those shots needed to fall. My other takeaway, I got 2 more. Number 2 is Karl Anthony Towns is hot garbage. He's just, I've never been lower on Karl Anthony Towns. I think defensively he's a mess. I think if you look at each of these games, extended Celtics runs have started from Cat's kind of predictable unathletic drives to the hoop where he's getting blocked by Al Horford. He's getting stopped time and time again. And the Celtics are just running. He's behind the play. There's aside from one stretch in game two where he was getting to the line a lot, I think Karl-Anthony Towns has been a tremendous negative for the Knicks. And my other take, my of the three, is that Mitchell Robinson, his his reaction to the missed free throws in game three, worst possible reaction you can give, because Joe Mazzulla loves the mental game, the psychological advantage. And once he saw Mitchell Robinson put his hands in his head in his hands and really demonstratively react to the missed free throws, then that's like, you got him. That is going to be the minute Mitchell Robinson gets into the game. If he gets into the game, if the Celtics are in the penalty, if the Knicks are in the penalty shooting free throws, you almost can't put him into the game because you know the Celtics are going to foul him. And if that's the case, then you're going to see a heavy dose of Jason Tatum. So Mitchell Robinson being that in his head about the free throws, if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm really worried about that. And because now Tom Thibodeau has to make a decision. Do you put him in and live with how good he can be defensively? How long do you live with that? As soon as the Celtics start fouling, do you put Achua in? If you put Achua in, then Tatum's going to have a field day, and maybe Jaylen Brown too. And then what do you do after that? Do you go with Towns? Does Towns get into foul trouble? That situation there can be a real determining factor in game four. I'm very, very curious to see, because I think if we're looking at a Boston star that might get going, I'm looking at that Mitchell Robinson situation. And if the Celtics can take advantage of that, you might see Tatum get hot and have one of those 18-point quarters that can really put you in a hole.
Yeah, and to your point, like I like all the points that you. Well, I'll say, I I hear all the points. I not necessarily like that the cat's hot garbage. I mean, I don't like necessarily hearing that, but to your point on that, and we could start there, is that defensively, he, especially in game three, he played much better in game two when it came to protecting the perimeter. I thought he did a better job staying there. Like, I'm not expecting him to lock anybody down, but he's not a guy that you can have in drop coverage. And yesterday, when I saw him just hedging back a bit and just allowing Tatum or anybody else to get space, I'm like, I thought we got rid of this idea, because you can't give anybody on the Celtics any space to get to work, and especially somebody like Tatum. If he sees any bit of space, he's going to drive the lane. He's going to pull up from three. And, I thought Towns, like I said, not a perfect job, but I thought he did a better job. But, also offensively, he hasn't been that star, that guy in the top five MVP conversation that he was at the beginning. And if you're going to, that's why he was brought in here, man. Like he was brought in here because Randall didn't provide what we needed. And they said, we need a little bit more consistent shooting, scoring. They want to match what the Celtics did. They want to build for what the Celtics were doing. They wanted to stretch five, and we're not even getting the stretch five aspect out of him. I know he had more attempts yesterday, 5 attempts, but only hitting one, and not really hit. Probably two he's hit this entire series, one or two. It's just, that's not what we need more out of him than that, and can absolutely be a lot better than he is. With regards to Mitchell Robinson, I do agree, because there's a lot of mental in this game, right? Confidence plays a huge thing, and you can't show any weakness, and I do agree with that. But Mitchell Robinson has been, I thought, very impactful this series, outside of yesterday, just because the whole game was just so wonky. I mean, Josh Hart leaves the game, so you lose a good rebounder, a guy who can do it all. Then you got to bring Mitch in. You're trying to figure it out at that point, and everything was just thrown off balance. Cat getting into foul trouble, then Mitch getting into foul trouble. The whole thing went down the toilet for the New York Knicks. But with Mitchell Robinson, I'm just looking at the numbers, and shout out to my guy Schwinn on Twitter. Every lineup that you see with Mitchell Robinson is a positive. When you look at plus minus, he is a positive. And even with the double big lineup of him and Cat, I love those lineups. You didn't get to see much of it yesterday just because both were in foul trouble. But that's the big thing for this team, is I want to see more Mitchell Robinson out there with Cat, because you don't have to leave Cat as that sole rim protector, that anchor of the defense. Move him away. That's what they want to do out in Minnesota. We got to implement that here, and we've seen that work and I just need Mitch out there because defensively, he can guard the perimeter, he can guard the paint. He just does it all, man.
It's going to be very difficult if the Celtics get out to another hot start because the Knicks, I think the one consistent thing in this series has been limiting the Knicks scoring. What have we got? 2 games in the 90s, and the third game in regulation was 100. That's not Knicks basketball. The Knicks score points, and if the Celtics defense continues to limit the Knicks, or if the Knicks just flat out continue to miss shots, then playing Mitchell Robinson becomes a very difficult decision if the fouling, if the Hacker Robinson thing is happening and working, because you're taking the points per possession and throwing them into the toilet. And if the Celtics are hitting their shots and the Celtics are up 10, 15, and Robinson's in the game, and every time down, you're not even getting a chance to get the ball into Brunson's hands or Cat's hands or OG's hands or so. Like OG Anunoby had 2 points, I think, right? It was 2 in game 3. Like you can't have that. You can't have offensive possessions that don't include any flow, don't include anybody touching the ball other than Robinson at the free throw line. And you're trying to come back from a 15-point lead. Now, it's different if the Celtics are cold or if the Knicks defense is working, or if, you guys are hot. That's a different story because the dynamic changes. His missed free throws become more of a Celtics desperation to stop the Knicks offense. And it's always an act to stop the Knicks offense. But if you're up and you can find a way, and it's okay if you're up and nursing a lead. But I agree with you. And that's why at the end of game 2, Mazzulla was purposely trying to get to the bonus, challenging Thibodeau to be like, hey, we're going to start putting this guy at the line if you don't sub him out. And you're not going to be able to complete your comeback. Because he's been such a positive for the Knicks, Mazzulla was like, I'd rather see Anunoby on the floor, which is crazy, but I'd rather see Anunoby on the floor than Mitchell Robinson because he's just been driving so many positive Knicks lineups. So he's the ultimate key to what the Knicks are doing. And if he can't stay on the floor for whatever reason, that's going to be a real problem because then you get to the regular season Knicks. And that's where the Celtics owned New York. The Mitchell Robinson lineups are where the New York kind of makes their noise and plays the Celtics even in the playoffs.
Salute to Knicks Nation. Thank you all for tuning in for another game preview. We're previewing game 4 of this Knicks-Celtics matchup. The New York Knicks face the Celtics again tomorrow, Monday, all right, at Madison Square Garden. Looking to bounce back. With me on the other side is John Karalis. He covers the Boston Celtics for Locked On Celtics and Boston Sports Journal. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button for your boys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Reminder, watch party is at Slate, not the Ainsworth. It is at Slate, so make sure to head over there to hang out with the Orange and Blue faithful. Okay. Look who we got in here. We got Friday Night Knicks himself, Mr. Robert Randolph. John, he is liking what you were talking about. He said Randall and Brunson was the perfect duo. He's not saying what you said, about Cat, but he misses Julius Randle on the team, especially since Julius is having a solid postseason run.
Yeah, Randall just drops a triple-double. And so, you look at what Towns is giving you. And I admit, I'm being harsh on Karl Anthony Towns, but I don't think he's been giving you guys what he should be giving you. You look at Randall dropping a triple-double over there for Minnesota and having them look like they have a chance at getting to the Western Conference Finals. Yeah, I can see why Knicks fans might be like, did we make the right move?
Yeah, I'm not looking at that right now, man. I'm not trying to have that whole conversation, but I get why people are kind of glaring over and doing what they're doing. Focusing on the team that we have here. And I think the big thing for the Knicks in this game tomorrow that's got to change it is just getting that offense running. I mean, we've alluded to it. It's getting to that off ball movement that had this offense humming the beginning of the season, and haven't really seen that since the beginning of January. This team has just been falling back, relying on a lot of Jalen Brunson heroics, too much isolation basketball. Things are just looking a little too wonky for me. I mean, I'm seeing Karl-Anthony Towns go back to some bad habits, trying to post up from the 3-point line. That just makes no sense. He's not getting down on the block. OG's not cutting. Bridges is just like deciding not to finish a layup. He'd rather just do a fadeaway jumper. I mean, guys are just it's just looking out of sorts. And I think it all starts with it's either two things. One, it's either get your stars going, Brunson and Cat. Show those guys either got to be dominant and just force the Celtics defense to hone in on them, and then it opens up everything for the role players, or vice versa. Get your role players going, so that way it opens it up for the two stars. But either way, it's just got to change somehow to get this Knicks offense going.
The problem is the Celtics defense is so versatile that it really is tough for the Knicks. The way they play. I mean, Josh Hart is you need him, but he's the guy that the Celtics don't respect from three, and so that takes away the driving lanes, and so you don't have to start small on Brunson, and even in the starting lineup, you've got Derek White and Drew Holiday. So that's a tough defensive matchup for Brunson anyway. So you call a pick over, and the Celtics are okay. Well, if you switch Al Horford onto Brunson, that's fine. Horford, even in his advancing age, has been able to kind of hold his own. And so what if Brunson scores? That's where the Celtics are fine if Brunson scores. What they don't want is OG going for 29 like he did in game one. What they don't want is Bridges hitting, four threes. You don't want that kind of production from the other guys. I think the Celtics believe that they can survive the Knicks because, they can survive the Knicks if even if Brunson gets going, that's okay. If Cat gets going, that's okay. You can limit everybody else. You don't have a lot of other options. If you limit those other guys that I mentioned, there's nobody really on the bench that's going to come in and kill you. You can still hold the Knicks to 100 or less. Celtics defense has done its job. The Celtics offense in games 1 and 2 collapsed down the stretch. And I think that was more on them than it was on the Knicks. If the Knicks, I don't know how the Knicks get creative. You're gonna have to figure out maybe you invert the pick and rolls and try to run something off ball where Karl-Anthony Towns is starting with the ball, and you bring someone else up, a small, to set the pick and force the Celtics to make a decision that way, and then you run Brunson off a pin down, coming across the top, curling over the top to get the ball on the move, and just force the Celtics to make some decisions. You got to get creative like that, but that's not how the Knicks play, and it's tough for it's tough to throw these wrinkles that you might say, "Oh, I've seen this happen somewhere else, and this could work for them." It's tough to do that when you haven't practiced it, and it's not how you normally run your offense. So I think the Celtics are just a really bad matchup for the Knicks, and that's part of why they haven't been able to get going.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics, I mean, they're one of the very few teams where, especially when KP's healthy, you have five guys that can score and defend at a pretty high level. I mean, you're talking about Horford being fine on Brunson. I mean, I'll take that matchup all day. I just think Brunson
Yeah,
will just have
sure.
that matchup. But I get what the point you're saying is that, look, if we're gonna just put it all on Brunson to score, that's fine. You're gonna need other guys to score too, and that's where I'm getting at. Like, how do you get these guys going? And this is, the one thing that has really worked is Karl-Anthony Towns working that block when he gets down there, especially when you see that two big lineup and you have someone like Jaylen Brown or Tatum just trying to shade over to help. Like, he's been very successful with that. Even with the contested shots, he has had some success. The issue is that we're not getting much of that, and they're just kind of pushing Cat out of the paint, and Cat's not getting into the paint to show that, hey, I can continue that type of dominance.
I think the bigger thing for New York, yes, you can get Cat on the post. You can run all of this stuff, but the half court's not going to be where you guys score. Where you guys have to do your damage is forcing the Celtics to turn the ball over. That's where you've made your runs.
Mhm.
That's been where the Celtics have gotten frustrated. It's something that Joe Mazzulla has highlighted.
That's how we won the
So
first 2 games.
it's right. And so, yes, can you be a little bit more creative in getting Brunson some shots or getting OG some shots or getting Cat some post ups? Yeah, you can. And maybe that'll work a little bit, but you still have to go stop the Celtics on the other end. And it's finding a way to turn them over, get out into transition, and pile up some runs. The thing the Celtics did incredibly well in game 3 was they hit the timely shots whenever the Knicks were starting to go on a 6-0 or 7-2 or whatever it was. Celtics hit a shot. Celtics got a steal and a layup. Celtics hit a 3 and kind of squashed that. Where in games 1 and 2, late in the game, the Celtics weren't doing that. And they were forcing things. And that's where the Knicks got out into running. So there just has to be a lot more ball pressure. You have to test the whistle, test the physicality, and see if you can't get Tatum and Brown to kind of try to isolate too much and turn the ball over. But this is where Peyton Pritchard comes in, because I think Pritchard is very quick, and he made a big impact being able to bring the ball up against the pressure. And if he's able to do that and get the offense going, now you get the Knicks into cross matches. So that's a nice little counter that the Celtics have had. But your best bet, honestly, is to jump Jaylen Brown every time he puts the ball on the floor. He's the weakest ball handler. Tatum to a degree, but you got to throw 2 at Jaylen and test them, test the physicality, test the whistles, and get out into transition that way. That's really your best bet. That's how you're going to end up scoring points.
So since you brought up Pritchard, and I really want to I want to have this conversation because it's been fascinating how you watch both these games. Like the star players have had moments throughout both of them, like
Yeah.
Tatum,
Yeah.
Brown, Brunson, Cat, even like some nice putbacks in games 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They've had some moments, but no one has really dominated
That's right.
this series. Has that been fascinating to you? Like it's just been a lot of the role players that have been showing up at certain times.
It's been fascinating to me throughout the entire second round of the playoffs across the board. Like who has played well? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hasn't played well. Nikola Jokic hasn't played well. Like you go across all of these other series, like no stars or few stars have had like big time games. But yeah, it's a little surprising. And this is why I was so focused on Mitchell Robinson earlier, because I think getting him out is the key to kind of unlocking a little something from Tatum. But it is a little surprising. But that's the playoffs. Joe Mazzulla loves to say how you can't expect every game to be a certain way. It doesn't go the way you always think it's going to go, and you just got to be open to, all right, this is how this is going. Pritchard is the guy that's getting it done. All right, so we're rolling with Pritchard, and that's how you're going to win the game. So I think defenses are focused on like taking away the stars, and the playoffs end up being about can one other guy, 2 other guys take advantage of that. Like the Knicks defense isn't geared to stopping Peyton Pritchard. It's geared to stopping Tatum and Brown and making them, one-dimensional. And if some other guy can sneak in there, then that's, it's the crack that makes the dam break. So it is a little surprising that some of these guys have not have shot so poorly, but it's not surprising that, like you said, OG won game 1 for you guys. It's Josh Hart won game 2 for you guys. Pritchard won game 3 for Boston. To oversimplify it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's going to be. Defenses are geared to stop the stars, and either your stars are going to be stars and rise above it and just be like, I don't give a damn about your defense, or someone else is going to have to swim in their wake and do the job.
Great points. And yeah, it's not just only the Knicks Celtics series. It's been everyone that you mentioned, and that's even like when I watched the Pacers game and Cavs game. It's like outside Donovan Mitchell had a nice 40 some odd point performance in the last one, but it's you're seeing guys are just like it's coming down to role players, and I guess with that being said, how has it been that the Knicks? How has it been that the Knicks have even come back in these or have had these slow starts to 20-point games since the Stars are not, doing these type of damages? Like I'm watching these games, I'm seeing the Knicks are down 20 points, and I'm like I know the offense isn't clicking, I know the defense is struggling here and there, but the Celtics in those first two games shot so poorly. Yesterday made sense. Yesterday
Yeah.
made sense to me. I'm like, oh, that actually makes sense. The Celtics are hitting shots. That's why we're down 20, 30 points right now. Game one and two, I'm like, they're shooting 35%. We're shooting
Yeah.
like ish as well. And like, yet we're still in this game some way, somehow.
It's weird, but the Celtics find a way. Free throws, you draw the fouls, you make your free throws, you pile up some points that way. And they've just got a bunch of guys that can score, right? Al Horford can score a few points here and there, right? It's the cumulative effect of a couple buckets from Al Horford, couple putbacks. Derek White hits a couple of shots. Drew Holiday hits a shot or two. And yeah, the Celtics didn't get a ton from Tatum and Brown, but you just look down the line, you're like, it's a pretty well distributed scoring, output on the box score. You're like, oh, okay, this is pretty balanced. And they just that's the power of the Celtics, that they have Tatum and Brown that draw a lot of attention, but on any night, you could have somebody else score. Like this season, it was Derek White and Peyton Pritchard who became the first Celtics teammates to score 40 points in a game each together. You know what I mean? So they combined for like 82, 83. And it's just a weird, like, those are the two guys that are, if you're going to have those are the two. But that's the power of the Celtics. You just have, it's not often that a team can have two completely different combination of guys that combine for 80 points in a season, and the Celtics had that. And you haven't even seen anything from Porzingis yet, who's been, weirdly sick. If he can show anything, then this series changes dramatically in Boston's favor. If he can be any kind of good, and I think that was part of the 30-point lead there. But yeah, it is weird. But the Celtics just have a lot of talent that can do a lot of things, and 8 points, 10 points, 12 points, all of a sudden it adds up. Especially if you're getting zeros from, one or two of your guys, then that's the recipe for, one of those surprise, like how the hell did it get up to 20 type of games?
So it's the Knicks Nation. Thank you all for tuning for another game preview. We are previewing game 4 of the matchup between the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button for your boys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. With me on the other side is my guy, John Karalis, a fellow Greek in the building. Let's go, people. It's not too often we have another Greek on the other side. He covers the Boston Celtics for Locked On Celtics and for the Boston Sports Journal. He's on the enemy side. Don't worry, but he is a fellow Greek, so he's a fellow countryman, all right? I got to respect. Opa, that's right. And people, we cannot forget about our sponsor for today's show, Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code KFTV to get to $1,000 in instant bonus cash and a free pick. People, let me tell you what I love about Underdog Fantasy. I like to think I know more than what Underdog is telling me, so I like to go and create a ticket, between 2 to 8 players and say, hey, I know who's going to score higher, who's going to score lower, and just go about my day like that. All right. So for tomorrow, we're probably going to see something along the lines of, once again, Jalen Brunson for higher or lower than 25.5 points. He got 27 yesterday. I would expect him to do the same yesterday. Even if it was like a quiet 27, it just came out of nowhere. I expect Jalen Brunson to do something like that. And so it's just as simple as that. And the cool thing is you don't have to choose just one sport. If you do, you got to choose 2 players from 2 different teams. But you can mix and match across all sports. It could be football, baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, all sports. Even golf is on there. So make sure to download the app, put in a ticket, and go see if you could try to win, all right? And the other cool thing is you can put on your GM cap, play against a bunch of randos of your friends, put down some beer money, and see who can draft the best team doing the daily fantasy and see, hey, I got the scouting report. I know who's going to perform in each and every single game. So you got options when you download Underdog Fantasy. Make sure to use that promo code KFTV to get up to $1,000 in instant bonus cash and a free pick. All right, let's wrap this thing up, John. So what are we looking for in game four? And since you're the guest, I'll let you tee off. What are you expecting from either the Knicks or the Celtics tomorrow?
Well, I'm expecting the Celtics to play a very controlled game. I think they understand what went wrong in games 1 and 2, what went right in game 3, and how to come out with that poise and the control that allowed them to hit the shots. It was a little, I don't know, a little weird how they kind of collapsed in the first couple of games. I think game 2 was a reaction to game 1, so I think now they're settled in a little bit. I want to see that defense from the Celtic side. I want to see that defense stopping the Knicks, getting out into transition, forcing the fouls, getting Towns into foul trouble, and getting to the line. And on the flip side, defending without fouling, because the Knicks found their way to the line a lot. And I don't want to. They had a 30-point lead. It could have been worse if they defended without fouling. From the Knicks side, like I said, finding a way to force turnovers is going to be critical. Stopping the Celtics one and done. Do not allow the Celtics to crash and get second chances. If they miss, you got to clear the rebounds and run. You got to push the pace. And, I would, like I said before, I would target Jaylen Brown. I would target his handle. See if you can isolate him. See if you can force him to try to do too much. That's kind of where things will fall apart for Boston a little bit. And get on a run. You gotta put a lot of pressure on the Celtics early. Get on a run. Get that crowd behind you, and feed off of that. This is going to be a very, very strong momentum game from New York if they can do that. Right? You gotta feed off of that crowd, because I think there's a distinct kind of feeling like, oh crap, that's the Celtics that we were afraid of. And this is the type of game that we were afraid of. And all of a sudden, the 2 20-point leads in the first 2 games become like, oh, they just keep piling on the points. And maybe it wasn't anything that we did. It was just more them falling apart. And the doubt, right? That creeps in. If you can put that away early, jump on the Celtics early, have that Knicks crowd going crazy, force Mazzulla to call the first timeout. All right, now you're in business. Now you got a game. But
I agree.
It's almost like, who calls the first timeout? Not the TV timeout, but who calls the first timeout to stop a run? That's the team that's going to lose.
For sure. And it's, the Knicks have shown that they're capable of, continuing to fight. Even in yesterday's just lackluster performance, they at least, you could say that they tried. There was they would come out with these little mini runs in the second half, in the third and fourth quarter. But the thing is that they dug themselves in such a deep hole that they needed to play damn near a perfect game, and they didn't. They had all the turnovers in the second half possible at the wrong times, whether it was over dribbling, bouncing off someone's foot. It was just too much to overcome yesterday. And so for a Knicks perspective, I'm looking for them to just go back defensively. I don't want to see any drop coverage. This is not the team to drop against. I mean, good Lord, if I see Cat just hedging anymore, man, I'm gonna start pulling out all my hair. And it just cannot have that anymore. Stay at the level, just guard, switch. That was working for you in games 1 and 2. You don't need to deviate from that. Stick with that. Second, as we talked about, try to find the offense, man. And look, I know it's easier said than done to get the stars going, but got to get Josh Hart, got to get OG going, got to create open looks for these guys, especially like McCall and OG, just from 3, just to keep up with what the Celtics are doing. I mean, we're not really generating good look threes. It's a lot of desperation threes that the Knicks are taking, and it's that's a wasted possession because no one's ready to rebound, no one's ready to attack the glass. And I mean, especially if you have Mitch in foul trouble, he's not going to be out there to get you second chance opportunities. So the Knicks, I mean, look, they like to work the half court. I agreed. They've won the first 2 games. They outscored the Celtics when it came to scoring in transition. So I agree that they got to do that, but the half court's got to be there. They're not going to be out there running and gunning all night long. So they got to figure out some way to get something working. And the last thing I'd have to say is that, just stay out of foul trouble between Mitch and Cat. Like that's the big thing. That's the big thing. They're going to try and bait them every single day, every single moment to get into foul trouble. And Karl-Anthony Towns more than Mitch. Mitch has actually improved at not getting to foul trouble as he's gotten more seasoned in the league. Cat can just be a little overzealous at times, and he just had it's easier said than done, right? He's been in the league for 10 years. This is kind of like who he is at this point. But in this matchup, you can't give the Celtics an inch. And so I'm looking for that. And then if I'm looking from a Celtics standpoint, it's just trying to create threes, like what they do, just like stick to the game plan and what they do. And there's nothing really that they do defensively. It's like as soon as they switch on to somebody, they're all versatile enough to like guard multiple positions. Maybe if you said the person who can't guard a big might be Derek White, and who can't really guard a guard is like KP, but like, they're not really trying to expose those matchups. And so I would like to see the Knicks try to do that, but they haven't really tried to work in getting those type of switches just because barely we've gotten a lot of successful Brunson Cat pick and roll. So that's what I see for tomorrow's game though. Who do you think, before I let you go, one more question. Who do you expect from the Celtics? Is it Peyton Pritchard again to have another big game? Who are you expecting tomorrow to have a big game?
Well, I'm going to say, maybe this is a little bit more hopeful than anything. I liked a little bit of what I saw from Porzingis. So he was able to play a little less than 20 minutes. I think he might be turning a corner. So I'm going to say Porzingis will have a more impactful game. Although I do think Pritchard is going to be a big part of breaking whatever Knicks pressure is there. He plays so fast that he can force the Knicks defense to kind of adjust to him. But I'll say Porzingis because the Celtics need him, and I thought defensively he was pretty good. He has to start feeling better, whatever that illness is. I'm hoping that he feels better, and if he is, then just a couple of shots, a couple of those, attacking the mismatch, maybe a 3-pointer here or there, and that'll be if he can do that, forget it.
You're going with KP. I'm going to go with Jalen Brunson. I feel like in yesterday's game, there's been a lot of criticism about Brunson at times where, he kind of hunts for his shots more than he does for keeping his teammates involved. And that was like a big criticism in game 2 against the Pistons in that first round. I hope it's not an overcorrection, but I think we're going to need a little bit more than what he did in yesterday, where he might have to just take over the game, where if you're not going to get it from OG, if Josh Hart's not going to be, confident enough to knock down threes, if Bridges is just, shying away or being indecisive, it might have to be a game where Brunson has to just take control over the steering wheel and just say, you know what, I'm gonna have to do my best to make sure like we're still in this. And then if you guys want to hop in an 80 point right now where I can, I'd be glad we appreciate it. I feel like that's why I think what's going to happen for tomorrow, just the overcorrection to a slight degree. But John, I appreciate you coming through on the show and helping me preview this game. Please let the listeners know where they can find you. If you got any work up and coming, we should be on the lookout for as well.
Yeah, my work is on Boston Sports Journal. My podcasting is at Locked On Celtics. I'm on Twitter/X at John_Karalis, on Instagram Karalis44.
There you go, John. Appreciate you for coming through and previewing this game once again. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button for your boys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Make sure to give John a follow to stay locked in for this series. Come on. We all know we all want the Knicks perspective. Sometimes you got to get, got to see what the other team is saying. And hey, I like, I just love the NBA. I like reading and just digesting all NBA content. I love the NBA in general. And hey, remember to support our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code KFTV to get to $1,000 in instant bonus cash and a free pick. And remember people, the watch party is not at the Ainsworth. It is at Slate. Once again, it is at Slate tomorrow. 5:30 sharp. Get there. Go get your drink swag on. Make sure to be with the orange and blue faithful to cheer on the Knicks as they take on the Boston Celtics. Shout out to the franchise channel members we have in here. Zach and LA, I always see you in here. Respect Shaq, I see you as well. Ooh, we got some Celtics fans in here. We got Pothead in here. He's throwing some clovers in here. He's probably here for you, John. So I guess you want to give, I don't know if you want to give Pothead a shout out, but he's here for you. We got Coach Rubin. Shout out to Coach Rubens. We got Desmond Drew in here as well. Shout out to all you guys for coming through. KG Sevenfold, the regular in here. Robert Randolph, I know that you're a franchise channel member as well. Shout out to you. We got Snacks. Shout out to you as well. Eric L. Beats is in the building, the resident DJ who will be there on the 1s and 2s tomorrow for the watch party. Shout out to you, Eric. Shout out to all you once again. Shout out to Knicks Nation. Thank you all again for coming through. Remember, tap in tomorrow. We're going to have play-by-play and post-game as always. All right, everyone. We'll catch you later. We out.